Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Progressive Overload Podcast. Have you ever thought about strengthening multiple areas of your life at the same time? Then you've come to the right place. Our goal is to help you identify ways that you might need a progressive overload to break through those plateaus and keep you growing.
Hey, what's up, Progressive Overload fam? Welcome back to the table. It is I, Dustin, your wonderful host, joined by the also wonderful Adam.
Yes, I have made it to the wonderful category, and then there's Joe Copeland, and what do we say about him?
Bonjour,
Mr. Wonderful. How's that?
Mr. Wonderful,
Yeah.
like the shark from Shark Tank.
Yes,
Except not.
except with a little less green.
A lot less money.
A lot less green in the old
my
pockets.
goodness. Yeah.
At least I love Jesus.
For now.
Well, there you go. There's that. And we're grateful for that. I have to throw this out here as we get started. I ran across this today. It's something called banana ball. Have you ever seen the
Banana ball?
What?
It's like a spin on baseball. This is actually a league. Let me give you a couple of the rules just for fun. I'm really interested to see if this comes close enough to us to go watch.
Okay.
If you step out of the batter's box, it's a strike. If you attempt a bunt, it's an ejection.
Oh, is this Savannah Bananas?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if every foul ball, or every ball that gets caught by a fan is an out. And so I think that's fantastic because it's like instant gratification that you're in the game.
Have you seen any other videos on social media?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know what you're referring to.
Yes.
Is this you announcing your athletic debut?
No.
I would kill to be on the Savannah Bananas.
It would be a lot of fun.
That might be a little extreme there, Joe.
Well,
kill?
Not literally murder. I would just love to do it.
Okay, well, that's fair enough.
Figure of speech.
It seems like a intramural sports league that just got really out of control.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like an extreme intramural sports.
But now they're nationally known. Like they're doing tours.
Right.
And yeah, dude, they're so much fun.
Can I just say, like, who needs the MLB? Can we just go watch that?
That would be fine, yeah.
Sure.
I think so.
Professionalize that.
The way most professional sports are going these days, it's probably going to end up being something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the subject at hand.
So random, but I love it.
Very, very
Yeah.
random.
I love it.
Back on topic. How are you guys?
I'm good, man. I've enjoyed this last week.
It's good.
Nailing down the nutrition.
Man, you're out there going for PRs and
every day, baby.
Dude, it's been fun to see you kind of. I wouldn't say not even get back in the swing of things. Like
no,
it's been fun to see you swing at the next goal.
Yeah,
I guess is best way I can put it.
Yep.
I hit a milestone this last weekend. I sent you a video, Joe.
Yeah.
I tried squat for I think it was the third time I'd done it.
Oh yeah.
And was like, let's just see. I stopped at 185. I pulled off 185, which I felt was pretty good. I'm excited to continue to learn and grow from that.
The barbell squat is so technical, and you picked it up pretty quick, so I was proud of you.
Yeah.
And you know, it was fun for me because I started to add up my max, what I've done on bench press, deadlift, and squat. And you already know, so I'm not going to ask you, Joe. Adam, with my bench, deadlift, and squat, what do you think I'm sitting at?
Oh, my goodness.
He's chasing that 1,000-pound club.
Yeah,
I am chasing
I'm going to say
it.
bench press, deadlift, and squat.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting at 600.
655.
Okay.
655. Sweet. It was and that was the increase from my squat because I had only done 95, and so I was sitting in the 500-pound area.
Yeah.
Well, above 500, but in the 500 to 600 range. And so I jumped up and tried 135 just because I wanted to see how one plate felt. It felt good, so I tossed on some more, did 185, added the numbers up. I was like, man, it was a milestone for me. I hit the 600-pound club.
I can see it. Like 1 year from now, you're going to come into the wellness center and you're going to have this really cool looking shirt that says 1,000-pound club on the back of it.
I don't know. I seriously am going to pursue that. I am going to chase that.
It's a good goal.
I'm trying to. I've got a lot of ground to cover before then.
Oh yeah.
That's right. No, but it's good.
But it's been fun.
It's good. You guys are. If I go back to the baseball, y'all are swinging for the fences.
That's
so
right. That's it.
That's good. It's good to do that occasionally.
Yeah. It's all part of you know how in Christianity the Christian word sanctification.
Yeah. It's that process.
Just that process and that pursuit, and that's totally what fitness and especially the topic today of nutrition is. Yeah. It's a process of learning how to have a healthy relationship with food. It's a process of learning how to approach diets and meal plans and macros and anxieties around food and relate. Like I said, it's all just a process of learning what works for you and what doesn't. And so,
of course,
I really want to tackle that today. How about does that sound fun to y'all?
Yeah, it does. I think really with where we're at, and we've discussed, and we each have some personal goals that we're reaching for in our own lives. Yeah. In regards to our fitness and nutrition side of things with life, I think nutrition is one part where we're really like, man, I need to key in on some nutrition, right? At least that's where I'm at. Yeah. Is I'm having fun. I'm back in the gym. Like, it's not a struggle for me to go. Like I'm back to the point of I have to be there. I plan to go today just because I want to. Yeah. But nutrition is definitely the area that's like, so maybe I need a little work on that. Yeah. So let's dig into today's topic and see what we have. What do we got, Joe?
I think from the start of this podcast, one of my goals, if I could help get one message out there, is to fight the fear in food. There is so much fear mongering in food, and there also is almost no black and white in nutrition. Sure. And anytime you are looking up information online or maybe being talked to by a representative of some sort of program or something, and they tell you some sort of black and white piece of information, it's almost always going to be linked to some sort of program, something that you have to buy. And so there are things that you can do to just make your nutrition balanced and not feel certain ways against food. And so in 2022, the obesity rate which is now is 2022.
Yeah, that's now.
It is 36%. So more than 1/3 of the people, and there's 3 people in this room. So
wait a minute,
we're driving that number up.
Pause. Did you just call me fat? Does this statistic make me look fat?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So here's my question: as you look at that percentage, 36% of the population, how do you know if you make it into that category? What are the metrics that you look at? Because clinically, I know from a fact, clinically, I am obese. Mm-hmm. And
sure.
If you were to look at me, which, I'm not a specimen, but
absolutely.
Yeah, like Dustin.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But I'm not what you would think of when you think obese person.
Yeah. Sure.
So what do you look at for those metrics?
When you see these national numbers, they are usually solely based on BMI. So a BMI over 32. Okay. And that's that's the only purpose of BMI, and it's for those mass measurements of large scopes of people. I mean, obviously the government's not going to come in and put everybody through a DEXA scan or a underwater weighing scan to see if your body fat percentage, see if you're actually clinically obese in that. But still, BMI over 30. I mean, if you look at like the 1980s, this number was in like the 12%. Yeah. And so obviously something is going wrong, and that's really all I wanted to make that point with is something is obviously not right.
Yes, there is an upward trend there that should be alarming.
Yeah. And it was predicted to be at almost or over 51% by the year 2030. So that's only in 8 years.
I feel like we're headed towards like Wall-E.
Seriously, we are, dude. And that's I love that movie, but it's also kind of scary because a lot of their predictions are already coming true. So scientists out there are doing everything in their power to almost find a blame for this, and they're almost all linked to some sort, like I said, linked to some sort of backing monetarily backing, whether it's going to benefit a certain company some way that sells a certain type of food or something like that. And so they're almost all coming at some sort of macronutrient. So, I mean, there was, at the beginning of our lives, we were going through the low fat era, scared of fat. Everything is low fat. Everything is no fat. We're scared of fat. And then we are more recently going through the carb phobia. Everybody's scared of carbs.
Which is awful because I love carbs.
I know, right?
Personally,
I know. And then even now we're kind of in the last year or two, we're kind of seeing a meat phobia, specifically animal meat phobia, where there's just so many powerful people around the vegan and vegetarian world that are really starting to put a lot of fear mongering out there based on animal meats.
And you know what I say to those people? Thank you, because I'm going to eat twice as much bacon.
Yes. Oh, man.
Because I'm going to eat your portion for you.
If you are a vegan or vegetarian out there, and you think you're
First of all, I love you, and
I'm sorry.
Wow.
And I don't mean this offensively, but
if you think you're making a change in the world by not eating meat, I promise you, I'm eating your portion for you.
Right.
If you had seen my plate, I'm eating more than your portion of meat. I'm eating your portion of everything.
Yeah, right.
So, as a keto fanatic, meat is high on the priority list for me.
And
absolutely,
a person trying to put on muscle, it is the centerpiece of every single meal I eat.
Yep. So, what do we do about this fear mongering? I guess fear mongering is the right word. It's
scare tactics.
Yeah, it's influencing and opinions that are tilted towards a specific end game for a company, like you said, or for a diet plan, or for the almighty dollar, if you go that far.
Yeah, right.
So what do we do? I mean, how do we start to combat this?
Well, we have to understand that there are no unhealthy foods. There are only unhealthy behaviors. So let's tackle that.
Man, can you say that again for the people in the back of the room?
For those in the back, there are no unhealthy foods. There are only unhealthy behaviors. Mm-hmm. So if you heard that sentence and you're like, wait, pizza's terrible for you. Oreos are bad. Fried French fries are bad. If you feel that way, maybe step a little closer, listen in, and let's really dive into that and figure out why you have such a negative relationship with that kind of food. Probably because you are practicing some sort of unhealthy behavior. Mm-hmm. And, stepping back, we all struggle with this. This is not something that I've mastered. It's something I'm trying to fix myself currently, and then also kind of change that message in the world that I fell to for so long. Mm-hmm. So when we think about unhealthy behaviors, we think what I like to say is almost all of these chronic illnesses and obesity and lifestyle related illnesses, like your heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, COPD, those are lifestyle related illnesses. Were not caused over eating fat or eating carbs. They were almost all caused by a overconsumption of these types of foods. Mm-hmm. And then also on the other side of that is a lack of movement. So I feel like that is if we can boil that all down to over-consuming calories and under exercising and under moving. Mm-hmm. That makes sense to y'all?
Yeah. So if I think about this statement, no unhealthy foods, only unhealthy behaviors, I think about the fact, and we've said this before, I've got to stop eating like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And so,
man.
Well, and so here's what I think when I see that statement. I actually watched, because I have a 13-year-old daughter, I watched her eat a meal, and I thought to myself, if I actually ate like she did, it would be okay.
Yeah.
But what my problem is I eat like a 12-year-old with an adult appetite.
Exactly.
And so so that's what I see whenever I hear this statement.
Yeah.
Because the food that she has in her plate or that she's putting in her mouth, or even my 10-year-old son, they're not actually eating the amounts of it that are devastating to their to their growth, their development, to any of that. Yeah. And so if I actually would eat like a 12-year-old, it'd be okay. Mm-hmm. I just can't do it like a 12-year-old with an adult appetite.
Yeah. A slice of pizza or an Oreo or whatever your mind thinks of that no food in the context of a calorie controlled balanced diet is
Yeah,
absolutely perfect
if
for
we
you.
sit down to eat, right, and you guys have a slice of pizza, there's nothing wrong with that, like within your calorie range, right? If I have the rest of the pizza, we might run into a problem, right? Like it's portion.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's only thin
right?
crust. It's thin crust.
It's thin crust.
Thin
That's
crust,
okay.
less calories. Have to have the ranch on top of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Canadian bacon.
Oh my gosh.
I want pizza.
Yeah, we're going to eat pizza after this, right?
Because we can.
Because we
we'll
should.
just add a really delicious, colorful salad and fill
now
up with
that we've caught up on our pizza references from the last like 20 episodes without one.
Right.
Let's continue.
So, if you've ever felt, if you ever went online and found a influencer or a nutrition expert in quotations, or a blog post, or or a blog post or something like that, and you felt anxiety or fear from the information that you had learned there, you have most likely succumbed to their attention-grabbing efforts of getting you to like, follow, share, buy a program, buy a product, buy a system, become a health coach within their system, or at very minimally subscribe to their channel
to support their monetary pursuits.
Exactly, yeah. If you hear a piece of information, you're like, oh my gosh, I have that in my pantry right now. I and all of my family are going to get cancer for eating that. You are a product of, or you are their target market of feeling like that.
Yeah.
So that's, I did a quick little Google search, and I kind of wrote down a couple things that I found that were on the very top. And
these are very interesting.
All I said was, are carbs healthy? And that's the only thing I typed in Google. And number one was a title from a article said, "Does eating grains destroy your brain?" And it was by a Dr. David Perlmutter or whatever. And then, he went through all this information of, if you eat carbs, you're going to get dementia, you're going to get Alzheimer's.
This, that, or the other.
And then... Oh, wait, there's a link at the bottom. Buy my new book called Grain Brain and avoid getting dementia. And so, like, if I'm not a smart consumer there, and I'm vulnerable and I'm afraid of that, maybe I have a grandma who had that, which I did, and oh crap, I'm scared of that now, so I'm going to go buy this book. And so he just got you. A Twitter post that was headlined, "Whole grains are the worst possible foods you can put in your mouth." Who wrote this? Oh, a Atkins keto diet coach who was selling coaching for the low carb diet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine.
How convenient.
How convenient.
Yeah.
And then there was this other one that was just ridiculous, and I can't believe it was like the third on the search. It said, here are the 4 most common household foods that kill 15 million people per year. I was like,
my goodness.
Literally just saying, and it was like saltine crackers and something like that. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You're going to sit here and scare people that they're, oh my gosh, I gave my kid a saltine cracker last week. They're going to die. Oh my gosh. Please help me.
Wow.
I'll give you all my money to coach me. Blah, 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 blah. So I think the bottom line is sensationalistic messages sell very well.
If they can appeal to you in some sense that connects with, like you said, family, and think, oh man, dementia, my grandma had that, or connects with, that's my pantry right now. If they can get a reaction out of you,
they got you sold.
They've done what they anticipated doing.
Yeah, that's the right word, Dustin. The reaction. They want some visceral. Let me get you to explode and think without thinking, react without thinking, whenever we should actually take the time to read and then respond. And so there's a difference between the reacting and the responding.
That's like, I'm going to pick on the saltine crackers thing, right? That's like, imagine somebody was to sit here without drinking water and just eat saltine after saltine after saltine until they just died. And then we're like, saltine crackers, they kill people.
Literally.
They kill people, and we qualify it by it. Well, it did happen. I'm not lying. It did happen.
The demon is in the dose.
The self part of what happens has to be taken into account at some point.
Yeah. I mean, when we scare people like that and we say this is the food that's killing you, or there's this sort of ingredient in this food and it's killing you, it's completely removing ourselves from the equation. Right. And it's putting the blame all on this type of food, demonizing this type of food, and not taking it into account our actions. Let's be real.
If we take in everything we could eat with food, right, and say, oh, well, this ingredient or this thing or that thing, if we were to take a poll and just remove all of those things from our pool of what we could eat, what would we be left with? Water.
Right.
Like if we were going to play that game, then there is nothing out there that somebody hasn't had some kind of reaction to or eaten too much of and gotten sick or this and that. And if we're going to guard that so heavily, we're going to be left with a very unhealthy approach to what good food is.
Yeah.
So you're talking about basically how this relates to our health, and if you go the route of weight, because so many people put a heavy premium on that, then you need to weight these statements as well. And so as you're going through, try to actually, and I'm going to jump ahead just for a second, but we are technically, as the three of us, or even the church, the body of Christ, we are safer when we do theology and community.
Yeah.
Because I can put so much emphasis or weight on one particular piece of scripture, and I have a group of people to come around me and go, yeah, that's important, but there's another side to this, and there's a whole other layer to this, or several layers to this that we should discuss as well. And so as we're talking about weight and food, I think about how much weight and value we put into topics and statements that we read.
Exactly.
So
no, that's good.
It's true because it has to be true because it's on the internet, right?
Of course, right.
And so that's the kind of the rule.
I found this statement from a registered dietitian on Fugicate. It's a really good website for I feel like it's unbiased health, nutrition information. So go check that out. But I loved what he said. He said, "The food blame game is another embarrassingly obvious example of how we seem to continually grasp for eating truths and absolutes in society devoid of a food culture, yet overflowing with food." So I loved that a lot, and I really resonated with that. We're grasping for some sort of absolutes where absolutes do not exist. Does that make sense? So I think now that we
want that quick thing that we can blame and say, oh, if I just remove that, everything else is golden.
Exactly, because that's easy.
If I remove that within a month, I'm going to have my dream physique.
Right, yeah.
And that's not how it works.
Unfortunately, it's not that easy. And if somebody tells you it's that easy, that all you have to do is remove this from your diet and you're good, then they are very wrong.
Lying. Liars.
So now that we've established the truth that fear-mongering is out there.
Yeah, fear-mongering is out there. You're absolutely right. And it's not just out there. It is wreaking havoc.
Oh, absolutely.
It is causing so much damage.
Toxicity.
Yeah.
Well, and because it doesn't end with just the nutrition.
It doesn't.
There's so many different messages that we hear and read, and I don't want to dive into this too much, but you are scared into a particular habit or a particular lifestyle, because if you do it the wrong way, then the message is out there that you're going to die.
Yeah.
And so and really that all goes back to removing ourselves, the human element of it all, and we let what we hear dictate what we do.
Yeah, and you're right, it is a whole other topic, but the message of media is almost always fear. If somebody sits down and watches Fox News or CNN News or whatever news channel, you are not going to walk away from that feeling good about the world or the current state of our world. You are going to be scared. You are going to be
for real.
So maybe the whole message should be just media is the devil, even though we're
technically
that's us.
Media.
Is this like an episode, like a Waterboy spinoff?
Yeah.
If y'all know
everything's the devil, Mama.
No, Mama, the media's the devil.
At least y'all understood the
No,
of course.
Colonel Sanders, you're wrong.
Colonel Sanders. So let's talk about the damage that is done from fear mongering. And I think the number one the number one piece of damage that happens is it creates food phobias. So I know I've been pretty open about my journey, and I went through probably a year's time where I was hardcore keto, and it screwed me up in so many ways. And in that, even coming off of keto, even now, I think about eating a peach or a strawberry or an apple or a banana, and I'm like, oh crap, there's so much sugar in here. And then I just have to punch myself in the face and realize that's not bad for me. In the context of keto, yes, it might be because of the sugar content, but I should never be scared of eating a whole natural food.
Yeah. And Joe's that guy that walks through the grocery store, stops through the fruit section, looks at it, and then just hits himself in the face and grabs it anyway.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm going to see what happens when he hits himself in the face.
I don't know. Maybe we should take a trip to the grocery store after this. I'm kind of curious.
Well, even now, like it's hurt me so much that sometimes around some carbs, I feel like I do not have control of myself.
Yeah. I understand that for sure.
I'm sure you do. Yeah. And that's a damaging relationship with food. If you feel like you have lost control, that is obviously a very, very bad place to be.
Yeah. For me, as these different forms of media, because I do a lot of social media stuff, right? And so I see a lot of these messages and hear, and there's a lot that I stop and listen to. Not that I follow what they say by any means, but man, like I cannot tell you how many times I've heard different like people speaking on different subjects or whatever, or even similar subjects, and it's like they're talking against each other.
Oh yeah. And
then it leaves me, the viewer, going, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Those two things conflict, and I end up confused, and it's like, which one's speaking truth, which one's speaking falseness, like which one, like where does the truth lie in the mess that's been presented before me?
Yeah. And that's what fear mongering does. It creates a vast amount of confusion.
Yeah. I thought that carbs were bad.
Yeah.
But this guy says carbs are good.
Yeah. And wait, I thought fat was bad. What we can eat avocados now?
I need it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Wait, it's an essential macronutrient, and if I don't eat fat, I will die?
Wait.
Yes, that is true.
Wait, red meat is going to kill me just like everything else if I eat it?
It's going to clog your arteries.
Yeah, it's crazy the messages and really like the depth to which they speak. Like just with a few words, there's so much meaning packed into it, right?
Yeah.
That if we were to follow it, man, like you said, when you committed to that keto to really an unhealthy extent, like it left waves.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was 3 years ago, and it still affects me, and it's still something I'm fighting every day.
I understand.
Yeah, I know. And Adam, you're a keto guy, and I'm sure I'm sure you feel some of these things.
I do actually. I feel it's strange because you think about eating something and feeling guilty about eating it.
Yeah.
It's that whole mindset of not just that I'm going to eat more calories, but I'm going to eat macronutrients that are devastating to the diet that I've chosen. For within the confines of a keto diet, obviously carbs are bad. I mean, if you're in ketosis and you have, over your allotment of carbs, you might get kicked out of ketosis, and everything you worked for was for or whatever. Well,
so
but still, I've figured out. I've hopefully in the last 6 months after we stopped our main what do we call it?
Challenge.
Yeah, the first one. I've hopefully achieved a little bit more balance with that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have balance with carbs and keto. Yeah. Because you begin to crave some of those things that but I've had to realize, this is not detrimental to my health to the extent that I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to, for me, as to, can I weigh this out on a scale and go, yeah, I would like to eat this, but I would like to eat just enough of it to satisfy myself and not be unhealthy.
Yeah, and that's true wellness. That's true health.
And I like what you said there, Joe. True wellness, I would say, very much includes a healthy relationship with food.
Of course.
And the message and as we're calling it, the fear mongering, this message of there are these unhealthy foods, subscribing to those ways of thought leaves us almost with a unhealthy or counterproductive to a healthy view of food.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that affects our ability to reach for true wellness.
Yeah. Yeah, because true wellness includes a balanced diet that you're not overindulging. You know what foods your body reacts well with, and you know what foods sometimes your body doesn't react well with. And it's almost like I said at the beginning, it's part of the sanctification of learning your body.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all heard of the glycemic index? I've talked about this a little bit before.
Heard of it, yes.
Yeah.
Don't use it.
Yeah. So
don't know what it means.
It kind of ranks foods on how fast they spike your insulin, basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's numbers, and I'm not going to get into it, but it basically tells you this food spikes your insulin better or higher than this food, and so it's
okay.
a lot. It's been followed for a very long time, but what has been happening over the last couple years is people using continuous glucose monitors all day long and paying attention to those numbers with different types of food that they're eating. And what they've noticed is, say, for instance, a regular russet potato versus a sweet potato. On the glycemic index, the white potato will spike your insulin way higher than the sweet potato.
Interesting.
But then what we're noticing with people wearing these CGMs is one person might eat a sweet potato and it's going to spike, but the other person might eat a sweet potato and it stays level. Or the same thing, this person that the sweet potato didn't spike, the white potato will, and the person that the sweet potato did spike, the white potato won't. So what I'm trying to say is things are way more individual than what we had previously believed, especially regarding insulin sensitivity.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to know that, like we said time and time again, there's very little black and white, and we have to go through the process of learning our body.
Sure.
And how it reacts.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Just to think about the fact that I could eat the same meal that you could and have a completely different physiological response to it.
Exactly.
And that's why, you know, a cookie cutter diet may not work for everyone.
Yeah. What worked for me will not work for you guys and vice versa.
Exactly.
We each have our own needs.
Yeah. Public service announcement. If a personal trainer offers you a written out detailed meal plan, run away. One, it is out our scope of practice. Two, it is teaching you nothing about your behaviors. It is telling you, tell me what to eat, tell me what to do. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But teaching behaviors, teaching how to learn these things is what a good trainer will do. And a really good trainer will say, go speak with a registered dietitian because this is mostly out of my practice.
There you go.
Anyways, a little PSA there. Let's talk about flipping the script.
Okay.
And so as we talk about fear and anxiety and the feeling of being out of control around certain foods, and I think in our context we're talking about carbs for the most part because that's where we've kind of been through that.
Carbs.
Yeah, because if we get I get nervous going to Olive Garden. Like I know that funny. If I get there and they set those breadsticks in front of me, there's no way I can keep myself from eating one. And so I almost I don't want to go there. Versus having the control where I would love to go enjoy one breadstick and be totally satisfied by it. Right. Rather than they tell me it's unlimited and I'll say I will put that to the test, And
you don't have to kick me out. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So keep them coming.
You young bucks. You just get a few more years under your belt. You'll figure out portion control. Your body will tell you.
My body has told me that. I'm in that process right now.
Oh man.
So if you feel those feelings, flipping the script is going to help you over time. And what I mean by that is instead of going in there and saying, oh, I can't have this food. It is unhealthy food. It is bad for me. It's unhealthy, blah, 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 whatever you say. Change that mindset and say, you know what, I'm going to allow myself to have this, and that's okay. It's available for me to eat. But I also understand that it may just not be well aligned with my goals. And literally keeping it at that. Allowing yourself to have it if you want it, but also on the other side, understanding that it may not align with my goals.
Yeah, and to me, it almost seems like what you're expressing there is just watch the language with which you talk to yourself. For sure. Even instead of me sitting down and having that slice of pizza and going, man, I blew it for today.
Yeah,
I broke my diet. I cheated. This is bad for me. I shouldn't have this, but I did, and feeling guilty over it. To say it's okay because I have the control. I can approach this in a healthy way, in a way that my body will react well because I know it will.
Yeah.
And I can leave satisfied and be comfortable with where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, that just feels like wellness to me. That feels like what health should be.
Positivity.
Yeah. I discovered this page on Instagram, and I'm actually gonna have her on the podcast. I'll fill you guys in on that later. I mentioned it to Adam, but I resonated a lot with her videos, and I better pull it out just so I can give her a plug. And then I'll get her on our podcast at some point. But it's called Nourished Soul Wellness. That's her Instagram handle. And she is a body positivity health coach that helps people kind of break the binge and restrict cycle and everything like that. And those are the videos that I found her through, and I just really resonated with it. But one of the things that she talked about, the scarcity mindset, we've brought that up before in our the Preacher's Kid Mentality episode, where whenever our mind thinks that we can't have something, we have the scarcity mindset. This is there's not very much of this, and now that once you have you allow yourself to have it, you eat all of it because you don't know when it's going to be available again. And she actually explained to me, or in her video, not to me directly, that this is actually a physiological process in our brain. It's not a fact that we're just failures in life and that we have no control and we're out of control and we have no discipline. It's actually a physiological, biological process in our brain that we've developed over, like we've talked about, over the thousands and thousands of years of evolving into the type of human we are now. When our ancestors had that scarcity mindset where I don't know when I'm going to have this food available again, they ate it all at once. And so that's kind of where that comes from. Whenever we see those binging type of behaviors, it comes from that physiological process that your brain tells you, I need to eat all of this right now because, like I said, I don't know when it will be available again. And so that was very helpful for me. Because one, that tells me really cool science information, but it also kind of teaches me to give myself some grace, not beat myself up over it. And so, because like we've talked about before, once you feel that feeling of crap, I'm a piece of junk and I just ate too much and I'm a failure.
Once I fail once, I might as well just
exactly. And so
scratch the day.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking about a person that I know that experienced the Great Depression.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And so you're talking about this physiological mindset there, or this response that we have. And because they experienced that as a child, if you were to go into their pantry now, it's bigger than this room that we're sitting in.
Right.
And there's food everywhere, and probably food that's gone out of date. And you know how non-perishables actually have a date, most of them.
Right.
But they have perished because they've been in there for so long. But that's just the mindset that they have, because I experienced this once. I don't ever want to experience it again.
Yeah.
And so there's probably a lot of truth to what she's saying about this is a real mental game for us. Yeah. And I've seen it also expressed through kids that are in the system, if you want to go that route, because they may not know when their next meal is going to happen. And so when they sit down to a meal, they're going to eat everything that you give them and keep eating until they get sick.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so even though some of us have not been through those two things, or maybe some of you have, if you're listening, you understand where that comes from.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to flip the script or flip the switch on and go, hey, I can have this, and I can have just enough of it because I can get it anytime I want at this point in life.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good point, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking through another thing as well. They were talking about nutrition and how there's no real absolute.
Yeah.
For every person, this is absolutely going to work. This is, or this is absolutely going to kill you. There's really no absolute in nutrition, but it leads us to a mindset of thinking we can do that spiritually as well.
Yeah, right.
And so when we have that mindset, of if we would flip the script on that and go, yeah, there is an absolute, then it might make a difference spiritually, because there are, and I go back to someone that might even say, I don't believe there is a God. Well, for you to know that, you would have to go back to all the way eternity past and all the way eternity future and check the log and see if there is a God. And since none of us can do that, you can't say that.
It takes more faith than our faith.
Right. And so I think about flipping the script in a reverse way spiritually to go, hey, there is an absolute, and it's found in Christ, and it's found in Scripture, and it's found in what Jesus did on the cross. And so I thought I'd throw that in there as we kind of head for home today.
Yeah, right.
But what do you guys think about that?
I think you're absolutely right. And what resonated with me is when you started talking about having the mindset of there is an absolute within our spiritual life, within our approach with our faith. To me, it almost seems like we have the right mindset in the wrong place, right? Within our fitness and nutrition, we want there to be absolutes. We're so passionate on pursuing those absolutes, even when they don't exist.
Yeah.
But we need to take that mindset and apply it instead of to this to our faith, because there is an absolute there. And in reverse, we have this mindset sometimes within our spiritual life where we don't see or pay attention to or want the absolute that is there. And we need that mindset applied to the way we approach our health and fitness.
Yeah.
In some sense. But no, hopefully that made sense somewhat.
It did to me.
Kind of. Yeah. Hopefully you tracked. But especially within our faith journey, as we look into Scripture, we see it is abundantly apparent that there is an absolute. There is an absolute. And we see that as in many ways, there is absolutely a message that should be shared within Scripture.
Yeah.
There is absolutely the message of the gospel that is complete and true, and God's word is inerrant.
This might be too long of an answer to my question, but how do you explain that to a non-believer?
I think you have to really get into the definition of what, if you can figure out what they think about God, you can figure out what they think about most of everything else.
Yeah.
Because if the higher your view or standard of God is, the higher your view of sin will be, the higher your standard of relational, aspects of your life will be. So typically there is a correlation between how they view God and how they live their life.
I see.
And so I always try to go back to, what do they think about God? Who is God?
Mm-hmm.
What do they think about Christ and the work on the cross?
Yeah.
And keep it very, keep it in simple terms.
Yeah.
Not because they're not smart, because a lot of people are very intelligent.
Sure.
That just don't believe.
Yeah.
But some of it is just words that have been poorly defined. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, that's good.
Words that beg for definition.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
We just talked about this on Sunday, but I'm going to throw it in. We were talking about the word sin, and we usually think about the word sin being a fruit word. Like, what do I see happening? And that is the result of sin, not sin itself.
Not sin, yeah.
Sure.
Sin itself is a relational term where the relationship between us and God has been broken.
Wow.
And so when you can redefine some of those things for non-believers, they begin to hopefully come to grips with, okay, this has just been poorly explained to me, just kind of like we're talking about with these foods.
Yeah.
And because now I have knowledge, now I have power, and because I have, the power, I can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's really good. I love that a lot. The sin is a relation. It's a relational
word.
Yeah. I love that.
Instead of a fruit word.
Well said.
Yeah. Awesome.
It is the root. It ain't the fruit.
There you go.
Boom. All right. Hopefully that wasn't too much information for you guys, but I think y'all are smart, so y'all probably figured it out.
And if you have any questions, contact Joe.
That's right.
Let me know. I would love to. If I feel like I can help you, I would love to help you. If not, I will make sure I can find somebody that can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We look forward to being able to interact with you guys more this week, and stay tuned for future plans and updates from the Progressive Overload podcast. Thanks for listening to the Progressive Overload podcast. We're honored to be a small part of your day. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are interested in sponsoring our efforts, please feel free to reach out via email. Find us at progressiveoverloadpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.
And as always, you can help us reach the masses by sharing our podcast with your friends and family. And then check us out on Facebook and Instagram to follow our own personal journeys and get an inside look on our day-to-day lives.